I don't have anybody else on at this
Okay.
point.
And I did get a message from Lee. He will be here at 6:45, he figures. So, but being that we do have a quorum, I will call the meeting for the Conservation Commission for June 21st open. And I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our June 7th meeting.
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And first on the agenda, we have proposed West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulation change. And I will read that one into the record. In accordance with Article 54, West Bridgewater Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw, the West Bridgewater General Bylaws, the West Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing June 21st, 2022 at 6:30 to amend the Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations. All interested parties, please attend. We are open.
All right, I'm gonna, oh, it's up there. Good. All right, so this is the table of contents of our current comprehensive stormwater management regulations, and the only change that we're proposing and talking about tonight is section 8.5. So the index indicates that, or table of contents indicates that we have a new section called adequate land area criteria for runoff infiltration, reduction of runoff volume, and reduction of runoff rates for new residential development on land with soils of special concern. So that's the only change on that. We can fast forward through all of the other sections that exist to the actual wording of that section. 8.5, adequate land area criteria for runoff infiltration, reduction of runoff volume, and reduction of runoff rates for new residential development on land with soils of special concern. If I'm not mistaken, did we want that to also be redevelopment? But I'll keep reading on and we can talk about that. Most important treatment of the stormwater runoff from developed land occurs in the unsaturated zone below the discharge point of the stormwater. Vegetation, oxygen, and microorganisms contained in the unsaturated soil and exposure time to the atmosphere are important for the breakdown of the contaminants contained in the stormwater runoff. It is imperative for this zone to remain unsaturated and able to recharge itself with free and combined forms of oxygen. As the stormwater infiltrates through the soil, a variety of physical, chemical, and biological processes and reactions take place to break down the stormwater contaminants. Soil with a seasonal high water table have a finer texture and a slow infiltration rate. Soils with these characteristics generally have a restrictive layer below the upper soil layer containing the seasonal water table. These soils are a special concern to the proper functioning of a stormwater management system. These soils hold water longer, and the detention rate within these soils is much longer than moderate to well-drained soils. These soils are generally flat with little to no slope from which the stormwater is able to shed. These soils contain broad areas of unsaturated pockets of standing water in the spring. In order to adequately protect the public in the environment, site design for a development must allow for the proper treatment of the contaminants in the stormwater discharging to and in soils of special concern. A greater distance of naturally occurring soil and vegetation is needed between the discharge points of stormwater to the adjacent lot lines and natural resources. So the definition of soils of special concerns: soils with a seasonal high water table within 30 inches of the natural ground surface are classified as hydric soils or classified as hydraulic group D on the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service Web Soil Survey. The design standards on a new building lot having soils of special concern A 50-foot buffer strip of naturally occurring vegetation must be maintained between the lot street layout line and the bottom of the fill used for the construction of stormwater management system storage devices, drainage swales, building foundations, in-ground pools, and septic system slopes. The buffer strip shall be protected by granting of a deed restriction prohibiting any change in the grading of the buffer strip except where a driveway access is needed from the street. A waiver for altering the buffer strip may be granted by the Commission for circumstances where adherence to the regulation would cause unjust hardship. The bottom of the stormwater management system must be a minimum of 2 feet above the seasonal high water table for residential development and 3 feet above the seasonal high water table for commercial industrial development. And that's it. That's all the changes.
I know we've all had a chance. Anybody have questions, comments? Hearing none?
I would like to give a shout out to John for the way in which he wrote this, and is appreciative of it. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Yes, good job. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda, we have a new public hearing for 1 Sandy Hill Road. I will read that into the record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law, and the West Bridgewater Conservation Commission Rules and Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing June 21st in the McDonald Brown Conference Room. Notice intent filed to install a in-ground pool with associated grading at 1 Sandy Hill Road. And we have cards, and we have a presenter.
We have a card and we have a presenter. And we have a blast from the past. 1 Sandy Hill. We have a subdivision and a submittal that was back 2000, John, maybe you can help me with the year on that, 2000. We have an existing limit of isolated wetlands that was seen by this commission and approved at the time of the subdivision being built. The builder came in, they built the house, and then just disappeared. So this is also why we're asking for a closeout of the previous work. So the existing work was all outside the 50 at the time. There was no 50 at the time. So some of this happened to be in the 50.
No, 50 at the time?
There was a 50 at the time. It was, he didn't build it right. But we're not here for that. So as the sign out is one thing. This is, we'd like to come in with a proposed pool. And the only area that they have left outside of this 50-foot area. So they're gonna have a little bit of pool, some retaining, some apron, very little bit, to get from the back here. This is new apron within what would be the 50, but inside their existing lawn area. I believe part of the development was to provide a conservation easement for the rest of the 50 to the isolated area, and that was shown on that side. But, that's the give and take we're asking. There's a little bit of work we're asking for, and then we would finish getting the conservation easement put in place to protect the rest of the area that they're not using.
I'm a little confused where is the 50-foot buffer?
Purple.
Purple is the 50, but there's already a building on it.
Deck.
Yeah.
In the lawn.
And a lawn.
And a shed.
And a shed.
Now, how did that happen?
I don't have answers for that.
So the person who built this house or who moved into the house,
This is
the original owner?
They're not the builders.
They're not the builder.
But they're the first
They've
owners.
lived there.
Are they the first owner?
I don't know.
I don't know. I have to look.
So the background on this is that an order of conditions was issued under the
Local.
local bylaw only.
Because of the
Because
accident.
the,
Yes, I'm going with you, I'm trying to support your,
the DEP jurisdiction wasn't there because it's an isolated pocket of wetlands and it's protectable under the town's bylaw, but not under the DEP regulations. So the commission approved a construction of the house with the buffer being right at the back of the deck here. I mean, I'm sorry, with the construction right back in this area here, back at the deck. They've since built a shed, which I don't think that we had a sign off for. I think it was just constructed without a permit, but that I can't say for certain. So the 50-foot buffer was encroached upon with a permit plan, and the owner sometime later put a shed in, and now they want to put a pool in, and they're keeping it outside the 50-foot buffer.
Are the owners here tonight?
I'm actually here representing the Mr. Angel.
So I'm still a little confused as to how that got built. Got the local, under the local bylaw, it's 50 feet, right?
The house was built out of the 50. They put the deck on it.
Yeah, so the only thing that's in the 50 at that time was the shed. Then they came in and they, I'll call it back up.
Let me put this up, and we can look at it. Maybe if I pull out the.
And I think if I remember right, John, was the deck, we allowed that because the easement was gonna be
Yes, I was gonna
put
say,
in place.
I believe so, that was.
Right, that was the,
That
at
was
the
the
time of the
compromise.
permitting, they
Yeah,
said they
what-
would give
what
us
did the-
conservation easement if they could have the deck.
Easement meaning
It was a
access.
restricted area that they
Restricted.
couldn't,
Restricted, yeah.
right, that they couldn't use and they couldn't go
They
into.
couldn't anyway, though, could they?
Well, now they got a hold on full.
No, but it was,
Right, but we were putting the extra teeth on it to have it as recorded
Yes.
on the deed, so that it,
and, you know,
so they haven't been issued a certificate of compliance either,
Did we do
No.
this, or was it way, way back?
Oh, way, way back.
way, way back.
That's before my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, what's way, way back?
15 years.
Well,
Really?
Putting
Oh,
it in. or
I'm
one
not
putting
way
it in.
back.
Yeah.
I just don't remember that.
Yeah, none of the members except for maybe Lee. Tim, were you part of?
I
San
don't
Diego?
remember it at all.
I don't think I was. So basically, we have an unpermitted shed and play area that's been put in to the 50-foot.
And on top of the pool, with what size pool? do
See,
they
I'm gonna
want?
pass this around. This is what was agreed upon and recorded, or not recorded yet. Agreed upon, signed by Mr. Hay.
I was gonna say, I thought I remembered
And
the deal with the
then
deck.
it shows you
That's what I'm
were
trying to
allowing
remember.
the work in the 50 with the conservation
Right.
easement as the compromise.
So pool size,
Pool size, 16 by 32.
is it something that they have to have that size?
Preferred?
Well, preferred, obviously, the bigger the better.
Yeah, so
But to make it fit right,
what we're trying to fit right.
to be able to put the, you wanna put on there?
That's a walkway leaving the backyard. You
Mhm.
can't leave out underneath the deck. So that's the closest I can leave the backyard to get to the side yard.
Is it gonna be an in-ground pool?
Yes.
Any way to make the pool smaller?
You can't move the walkway.
Any way to make the pool smaller?
Is it encroaching?
No, no, but.
Well, I'm just saying, to be able to make everything fit right.
Well,
Oh, good, better.
Or shift the pool,
I can't,
can't leave it closer to the road.
Yeah,
Plus, you got a stormwater.
you got a lot going on.
Got a stormwater.
But it's gonna make it work though, too.
You got a lot going on.
Is that a
So,
stormwater?
yes, you have existing drainage for the subdivision. You have utilities that were already shown that we're relocating. And then you have aesthetically, you don't want to be too far in front of the front
Well,
house, yes. So what's a reasonable reduction? I could shorten it by 2 feet.
In-ground pool, I mean above ground pool?
And so there's a fence too, right?
There is a fence, yes.
Is the fence already up? Are you gonna put
This exists, there's a fence, a white vinyl on this side, and along the back, and we would have to finish enclosing it because of the pool safety.
So I don't understand what the homeowners on here. So you can answer these questions.
I mean, because it was violated in the past, does that sort of set a precedent that they can continue to
So
violate
is
or
it
not?
that you want the shed moved out of the 50-foot
I
buffer?
was gonna say, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the
condition,
shed
but
should be moved out no matter what.
At least.
Condition, yeah.
But does that mean that you can, because of that, you can work in that area now? Or?
Well, it's an existing
It was
yard.
an existing yard.
Not
It
the
was
original.
And they're
approved.
not putting the pool in the 50-foot buffer
it goes-
now.
yeah.
It's in the unit.
It goes
Pretty
up.
close.
Well, it's right in there.
According to this, it looks like the shed is within the conservation easement.
Yes, I've had to propose a new one, assuming that I would be able to ask for that, but if I can't, I can't. That's why we discussed it.
That's gonna set in stone, that easement. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to move the shed.
Fair enough. Okay.
I mean, that's at least my opinion. That was the
Yeah.
deal the developer made with us when we proposed the building.
This
that
is
we
why I don't like.
Granted the deck as a,
You try to push and push as
And
much
then-
as they can. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or whatever, but.
No, but I
it's
don't
just like,
believe the
you know-
current homeowner should suffer for a builder's.
You know, the
decisions.
markers in
No, I
place?
understand that,
You know?
but the pool size can be.
The surveyors didn't locate it, did they?
No.
So it's probably not in. Because they never got a certificate of compliance.
They never got
Yeah.
a certificate of compliance.
That's on the homeowner.
Let you continue now.
It should have been on the developer.
Yeah, but he's.
Yes.
So now they inherit this problem, and I'm sure they're willing to fix the problems.
And I wonder how long they've been there. Quite a few years.
You think so?
Yeah, well, they haven't. I think they're the original owners.
Could shorten the apron a little.
There's a full, 6 foot on this side, there's a 4 foot there, so I could shorten the apron to a 4 foot on the
Yeah.
buffer side. Okay.
That would help.
Would that help?
Well, I could've been involved too.
What do you mean apron?
The concrete that
Around
surrounds
the pool.
Oh, okay.
We can put the markers in.
So the shed's gotta come out, period. I
The
mean,
shed
where you
will be
gonna,
moved.
yeah, where you gonna put it?
There's a
Front
little
yard?
bit- There's a little bit more room,
Yeah.
not a lot, but
If you move the whole, well, if you change the apron, you're okay. You're out.
if I shorten to a 4 in the front and a 4 in the back,
Yeah,
I can
there you
shift the whole
go.
thing and then I'll be 4 feet away.
Yeah,
Better?
better.
Yes, better,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
like you said, I think there's room to the side of the house
For the
for the shed.
For the
to
shed,
get
yeah,
moved.
yeah, yeah, there's a little bit of room
Right.
over here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll put the
Okay.
approved conservation easement on here and then the shed will have to go to the side.
Move the place up.
Gonna be some temporary
Oh, it's a
disturbance, I
beautiful
would.
playset. You know how hard it is to move a playset?
What?
A playset, this is a playset right here, it's existing. Tucked into the
Oh.
corner of their lawn, fenced area.
It's gotta be moved, I would think.
We shortened up.
I mean, it's inside the fence, and if the fence is gonna be all around the pool area,
Hmm.
How big is the place at?
I mean, it's not like it's a
No,
shed or a permanent.
So the
structure.
owners,
No, but still.
I'm
I-
guessing
yeah,
the
it-
owners had no awareness that all of that was restricted.
I'm guessing that as well.
Although that doesn't take the onus off.
Because it's a very well manicured side yard, they probably assume.
That's the first house, right?
Yes, it's the first house.
Yeah.
And that's their usable yard.
Where's the fence now?
The-
Oh, I see it
The existing
right
fence is
there.
right along, yep.
I'm sure that's why the playset ended up in that corner, because it was already fenced in and
Yeah, it's
it was
tucked-
already lawn.
No,
So
no,
it was,
I understand. I'm trying
It was tucked into a
to,
usable.
trying to do what's reasonable. So my opinion is you move the shed out and shrink the apron a little.
And then, since I'm full of, that's the rest of it that would be unusable. This is all unusable, and that's all they have on their
Did
lot.
they understand that?
This-
Probably not.
So,
That's the trouble with so much of our land here. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's
That's
a lot of the land that they don't. get to
3/4
use.
of their lot.
Yeah, so they're crammed into a
That's what they
corner,
bought, so.
Yeah.
unbeknownst, perhaps.
Guys,
What do you guys think?
thank you.
Shed didn't go.
Hmm?
Do we use that? one?
Shed comes out,
And then shrink up the.
shrink the apron, leave the place set.
Put the conservation easement in place, and put the sidewalk or something.
What else you
Yeah.
gonna
Oh,
do?
no, what about the walkway?
Where would you envision I go with that?
Right off the deck.
Off the
You seen these?
Down. Steps down.
steps down. Interesting. Oh, I can see that. Well, no, because then you're like walking into the pool. Do we have enough room?
You look.
What if we don't use a hard surface? What if it's just a mulch or gravel type
Yeah, that would be that one.
Yeah, or even those concrete blocks that the grass grows through,
pervious pavers? Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, another permit.
That would work.
Like permeable. Permeable. And you're okay with it? And, well, crossing my fingers. If structurally we can get it off the deck, I would love to, but I don't know structurally if that'll work. Otherwise, I'd make that comment.
There's no drainage issues, you know, they're in
No.
the yard.
No, the yard slopes very nicely, actually.
So it's gonna,
It'll be, yeah.
Continue
Got
it.
plenty of slope in front.
Getting that easement.
And it's all this underground.
Right, get the easement changed on it and,
See what the change. Continue. And then look into the, another way to get down to the.
you get the easement changed, markers on the plan, and get that in place, and
And see about
move the shed. and-
getting a different way down.
You're gonna come
the
back
deck,
anyway,
if possible,
right?
if possible. Because
That's,
those markers are definitely gonna
it's a walkout door in the back of that, I believe,
No, it's both.
on the,
go. Okay.
It's both.
a bulkhead, okay. I was just trying to see if they,
Thank you.
they flipped that to the other side. Yeah,
I mean, both ways, that way.
right, I was just
Because you
wondering
go
if that
down
was the
side,
reason
you
for
go down
both
that side.
sides was to,
See what they can do right down there, then cuts
Yeah.
out the.
but they're still gonna have to have.
Steps on either side. So they say that. If that's possible.
Yeah, working something out with the permeable pavers type thing, and even if there's steps on either side, if they wanted to make it a little easier, but I think you can work something out there.
My question is, are we closing with conditions or am I coming back?
Oh, with these changes, I think we need to have it on the plan. Too hard
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Especially with the easement.
And where we don't have the applicant actually
Yeah.
here, so that way there they can approve
They
it,
should-
or,
yeah, they should be
or
able to
not
do that.
approve the changes.
Sounds good.
Okay?
done.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to
July 19th.
19th.
Oh, come
I'll
on.
make the motion.
We don't meet the first
We have a
July.
holiday.
We have a long break.
I think I was here one other birthday, you know that? I'll say it.
Buy into something that's a problem, that's what you get. Not your
If
problem.
the changes are all in and it's done, you can do it remote.
Is that your birthday again?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
That's what I'm saying, I was here one other
It's a
birthday.
good happy birthday present.
How about if we have
You
a
actually
cake?
count them, huh?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
actually, my husband's grandparents are still 97 and going. We're counting, honey. We're
Good.
counting. All right, so
All right.
we can get a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 19th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Got another one?
And next we have
Double header, yes.
28 Pleasant Street.
Thank you.
That, I will read that into the record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law as amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations, and the West Bridgewater Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing June 21st in the McDonald Brown Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, for a general stormwater management permit. Request for 28 Pleasant Street for a veterinarian office building. We're open?
We're open, so we are at the corner of Pleasant and Old West Center Street, formerly 652 West Center, next to the Whitaker office and their complex. We are proposing to put a building on that front piece where that existing dwelling used to be. So we're here for the stormwater part of your bylaws and showing that you meet all your standards for water quality, control, and construction. We have catch basins, boil grit chambers, infiltration, catch basins, drain manholes, boil grit chambers, more infiltration, also abutting the previously approved area of infiltration, which hasn't been done yet, but it'll be done in conjunction with this, since we're gonna be in the same area. Just on the side note there. We have parking along the edge of the building, septic, underground, utilities or water, and electric. We still have to go for permits for planning, zoning, the proximity of the building to the property line, and for the site plan in the watershed protection district.
Is that parking lot?
Is the overflow parking lot? Or-
The overflow parking lot. That's their,
Where's
that's
the
their
eye,
property?
the eye
Where's the eye?
vet clinic? Is that right there too?
Right next to it.
Yeah. Like right next to it?
Okay, so this is a whole new,
This parking lot's right across from Barrett's.
Yeah, the barracks is
yeah.
It's their overflow
So
parking.
this, I thought that was their,
Oh, I understand now.
yeah, this is, if you wanna go back to the existing, this is what they're using for, this is the chart.
All right,
formally
I
chart.
understand
Yeah,
now.
that's.
So I have a question.
We'll let you fire first before I ask mine.
If I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Barrett's had to provide this parking, this overflow parking, to meet their requirements for their site plan and so forth. How does this, now that you take it away, how's it gonna affect it? And should we, and it's not, is there a lease on this?
So if I may, direct to the applicant to come with all these answers.
That's not correct. Barrett's approached us after he was open for 6 months and asked if he could use that space for overflow.
So it wasn't a requirement?
Part of the-
Not been a requirement.
Is he leasing it? Is he leasing it?
There's a monthly agreement. that they
Okay.
have.
So my question is moot, because if it's not part of the site
Yeah.
plan approval,
Snow removal and storage?
Yeah, you know, I did forget to show that. I apologize. Oh my goodness. Let's see what we got.
I'm guessing it's on one of the plans somewhere.
No, actually, I think I totally,
Oops.
well, it's okay. Let's,
another birthday present?
no. We have areas in here and areas along the side, and then I can ask Norm again, where does he send his snow? And we'll just put piles on the parking lot area. There's plenty of pavement space that he can occupy the snow on site before ever needing to take it.
Okay.
As long as they make it on the plan, I'm not gonna have a problem.
That's fine.
Any other questions?
So we need to look at the plan? Yes. Before or?
That can be done like it as-built, I would.
no, since,
I haven't finished the rest of the process. When, if there's another revision, we'll throw it on.
But you still have the planning board, right, to
We
go
still have
by?
another set of plans.
So there's gonna be another set of plans
Right,
probably
right.
submitted to
So we'd
them.
have to look at those.
Yeah.
when do you think you'd be submitting those?
I don't believe the meeting date was set yet. I think Mike White was looking into setting it. Unless I'm wrong on that one too.
I haven't received a date yet.
We're waiting to hear.
But you don't see anything.
Other than the snow and,
Right.
Not that this has anything to do with this, but what type of building are you putting in, business-wise?
So it's a 6,000 square foot, single story. It's a sister use to the veterinary clinic across the street on 106. They're separating their urgent care from their general practice. So this will be the general practice, the emergency room will stay across the street.
So it's up to the commission. I am concerned about the fact that if you designate existing parking spots for snow storage, then your clientele or the clientele of this business will be impacted. It also sometimes has an impact on getting EMS into and out of a site. So I think we've got to have it rigid where they can put it, and anything in excess is going to have to be removed from the site and trucked away. I think the town needs to, at this point, start setting down some requirements that if somebody can't meet it, then the building is shrunk. Or maybe that's not the right
There-
business.
There is enough grass areas, pavement, not.
Can I comment to that?
Sure.
I'll agree to that as long as somebody talks to the town about where they deposit their snow, because there's been more than one occasion where we've had a 20-foot snowbank in front of that piece of property.
Yep, I think you have a
Fair
legitimate
enough.
right.
Yeah.
But for this case too, it's for safety too. Safety reasons, in case something happens, but
Yep.
emergency vehicles can't get in for some reason.
And you've met the town's bylaw for parking spaces? Okay, just because I know that.
So, having heard that, Rebecca, do you
Yes.
feel there's room to put snow in a designated spot that's not part of the
Yeah,
parking?
or even eating up a couple spots because we've over the.
So, the 6,000 square foot building, how many parking spots is supposed to have?
I think it said 6,000.
6,000 square.
6,000 square foot building.
30?
That's a
And
lot
that's-
at any one time in
Yeah.
a death, yeah. But
And we also have access parking at the medical clinic that's right next door.
yeah, more than enough, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Close the hearing?
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Moved, and I'll entertain a motion to issue a general stormwater permit
I'll make that motion.
With conditions.
with conditions.
Yep.
Conditions.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
One you don't have to come back for.
I'll see if I can get something else. Make it worthy of my night.
Next,
All right.
on the agenda, we have 7 Esther Drive. This is, what do we got?
Good evening. My name is Catherine Andrewchuk. I am with Allen and Major Associates. I'm here tonight on behalf of the West Bridgewater Housing Authority. The West Bridgewater Housing Authority has applied for a request for determination of applicability and an administrative stormwater permit. The Housing Authority has a state-aided project on Esther Drive. It's off of Matchett Street. I said that right? It's about 1.5 miles from here, half a mile from the water department. It's an existing development. There are 6 residential buildings. There is a maintenance building and there is a community building. The Housing Authority is proposing maintenance repairs to the existing bituminous sidewalks and parking lot on site, also the addition of 11 parking spaces. With the maintenance repairs, they are also proposing to convert 2 of their existing units into ADA accessible units. Due to accessibility requirements and clearances and building code, the existing units are not, there's not enough space in them. So they're proposing to expand a portion of Building 5, the one closest to the community building, and the handicap parking spaces in order to meet these ADA clearances for the interior, So there is a slight building expansion for ADA clearances and construction of an ADA compliant ramp, including 2 other accessible exits out of the building should one of those be compromised in a fire out of the front. Portion of these maintenance repairs and ADA accessibility improvements are within 100 feet of the wetland buffer. About 5,300 square feet plus or minus within a 100-foot buffer, 800 within 50, 4,500 within a 100-foot buffer. There is an existing vegetated line that goes between the wetlands and the developed areas of the site, where there's not a vegetated line or there's tree behind, but there is also a chain link fence. None of that is going to be touched. All of that is to remain as is, untouched. And silt sacks will go into the 2 catch basins, core logs, silt fence along the downslope of the proposed improvement areas and buffering from the wetlands here.
And the reason they're doing these upgrades is because
There are no ADA accessible units on the
they're
property.
doing this because of the upgrades of the parking lot.
Correct, yeah, we're doing, so overall site, there were some improvements, portions of the sidewalk, but overall, bang for a buck, get it done. So all of the, most of the remaining bituminous sidewalks, the one that goes down Exeter Drive, we're not touching, but we are touching the drive. So improvements to the parking, drive aisle, and the existing sidewalks, ADA compliant, making sure we have 4-foot clear width around that, and additional parking spaces for the residents. It is their only, I believe this is only West Bridgewater's only state-funded housing authority in town.
Any drainage changes?
Not proposed.
The reason for the upgrades of the parking lot and everything is for what reason?
Crumbling.
Crumbling, deterioration, trip hazards, fall hazards.
Has there been an issue with a resident happening to do that?
I'm not sure.
Because all of a sudden
I'm
it
not
just
with the
seemed like
housing authority, so
it's been like that for how long, and now all of a sudden it's just, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
they
I
finally
think
get
we-
money.
You should have done it all.
We got
State
some
finally
money.
gave us money.
They finally get, and
Yeah.
honestly, it wasn't all of it. It's a push to get even these additional parking spaces in and to touch as much as you're seeing. Got a good executive director over there pushing to complete it and not piecemeal it, you know, the way that I say it, or cookie cut it and just pick out the pieces. Looking to not have to touch the site, you know, come in, get this done, not touch it again for another 40, 50 years.
And all the work that's proposed is in previously disturbed
It
areas.
is, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Either lawn
Yep.
or.
All
or-
lawn, yeah, existing, so here's your, this is surveying, chain link fence, tree line, these are the buildings, this right here, this existing walkway exists. However, because there's a little expansion, you're no longer our 8% existing ramp, and now we're pushing out, you can't go forward, you're not gonna meet compliance, so we'll have a walk that runs along the front of the building.
So the ramp is for the community building?
No, the ramp is for the ADA units, or it's for the building to come out here. So the units are gonna become ADA accessible if you're in a wheelchair, 5-foot clearance, turnaround, etc. Now, the finished floor is a higher elevation of the existing walkways. So that's to ramp down to existing grade. Again, 2 exits are going to be from the center of the building, and each unit will have an individual straight out, again, in case something was in the hallway. And you.
None of the others are ADA compliant?
No, none of them on site are.
You would think that they'd be pushing for that.
Hopefully at some point they all do. You know, what I'm seeing across the municipalities right now are, you know, there's 4 is probably the max I've been seeing. But there's definitely the conversions throughout over the past 5 or so years. Money has been showing up, you know, at least.
Right.
So it's one thing to get the walk cell compliant, it's another thing for the interior to, you know,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
get it.
I don't have any
John, do you have
questions.
anything?
No.
No.
Should have been done a long time.
this
Yes.
point, I'll
So I'm recommending issuing a
negative 3.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
not approving the wetland line.
Yep.
So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was the closing issue, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I agree with those for you.
Next, we have continued public hearings.
Thank you.
And we have 0 United Drive. Next up on the agenda, I believe.
Also known as number 2 United Drive.
Ah, we have a number.
Oh. You can't have a 0?
No.
Not in China. This is,
All right,
all set?
we're good.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Klinner from Collins Civil Engineering Group. I'm here on behalf of the site development for previously 0 United Drive. It's now 2 United Drive, thanks to the people at the post office and the clerk's office. And so what we're doing here is we're doing an office building and all the associated parking and drainage and utilities for the Oakers Company. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Oakers Company. They're out of Brockton. They're a technical company, and I'd just like to, this is just a rough idea of what they do, if you don't mind me handing this out. And on the second page, they have a rendering of what the building's going to look like from the street.
So how did you get number 2 if there's no building there?
The town hall requires us to have a number as quickly as possible for planning board, so,
Was there one there before?
no, there wasn't. So we
What's the
went,
reason for this one? Why did you get 2?
because that's the number they gave us.
No, I know, but how'd you get 2? There's nothing put on there.
It's number 2.
You got a mailbox
yeah,
out front there now?
Yeah, we'll put a post office, we'll put a box out there, put number 2 on it. So, you can see the rendering, that's kind of what the building's gonna look like from the street, and the Oakers Company, I'm sorry, you know, they're a technical company, and they are a company that assembles but does not manufacture. So there's no manufacturing on the site. They work regular business hours, and they have product come in, they assemble it, they push it out. And this is kind of what their company's been doing, and I just wanted to give you a rough rundown of this is going to be a very low-impact company for this site. There's not going to be any big machinery on the site. There's not going to be, you know, there will be trucks and cars coming in and out on a daily basis for daily business hours. That's about it. So that's the rundown on the Oakers Company, and I just want to introduce everybody here today so they know who we are. We have Jay Hauser, he's the owner applicant right here. We have Bob Sears sitting next to him. Dave Mitchell, Brian Robinson, Scott Rubin, and I don't want to forget Mr. Snell, who I did at the planning board hearing, so I'm not going to forget him. But Mr. Ron Snell is sitting behind me. So those are the, and CWB is going to be the general contractors. You know them from West Bridgewater. They seem to be the GCs that have been working with the project. They're not here tonight, but they are the GCs, I think. They'll be on the so I just want to go over a rough rundown. We've got planning board approval. We have Ellen Major's final letter, and let me see. I don't know if you have it, but I just want to run down exactly. This is their third letter that you have in your file. And on the last paragraph, they basically just say, based on receipt of the information provided by the applicant's representative, Collins Engineering, has addressed all outstanding engineering and compliance issues such that at the pleasure of the commission, an order of conditions can be issued. So there was a lot of going back and forth with and it was more technical information. We had to make sure that we were all on the same page, and we finally got there after 3 renditions.
Who's on that page?
Me and the review engineer.
So what did you do from last time we were here?
Basically,
The big changes, at least the ones that I had.
you're looking at the last revised plans, and that should be 6/8/2022. This is a big note. This is one of the big ones. This says that we meet all the criteria for your Article 54 and your stormwater management policies. We meet, between all the information that we've given you, we meet all the regulations under your Article 54 and your stormwater management permits. So they wanted us to put that on there and certify it. So we did. That was the major one. The other ones are just small technical issues. What coefficient did you use for dirt? Was it 98 or 99? It was that kind of technical information. So I just want to go over the project real quickly so everybody's familiar with it once more.
So did you move anything more out of the 50 or anything like that?
Nope.
Nothing's been touched?
Nope.
Other than that, everything's been the same?
Everything has been exactly the same. We did rearrange some of the drainage so that it works a little bit better, and I agreed with Alan and Major on their comments for the drainage, and so we followed their lead, and it worked out a little bit better. It just meant that we took larger infiltration systems and we made them smaller, which is better because it's an all-around. You can see it on the board. It's an all-around infiltration system instead of having it in 4 distinct places. This will recharge the ground a lot more evenly, and it will prevent any overflow because we have these redundant smaller systems. There's a lot here, but basically to bring it to speed again, it was in the flood zone. We got a letter of map amendment. We took it out of the flood zone. We have a letter from the Fish and Wildlife people saying that it does not affect the National Heritage Wildlife Endangered Species area, and that's only right here. We clear these woods here, but the NESP is only right here. It's only a small 4,000 square foot area that we're encroaching in. So it's a very small area right here. These are the woods that we're going to clear. Now, if you go out there and you look at the pipes and you look at where the pipes are, which is where we had our agreement to work to the wetland, there's only about 5 trees we're cutting down. The rest is scrub woods. And out of those 5 trees, 1's leaning and 3 are dead. So if you go out there, we are very low impact as far as the site concern for tree removal. It shows a lot here, but most of it is scrub, and the rest is full-size maple, a couple of two full-size maples and some other trees. So that's it. That follows under the jurisdiction of LID, low impact design. Cut as few trees down as you can, and use as little impervious pavement as you can. Now, I'd like to point out that your Article 54 and the EPA SWOR permit defines impervious to include compact gravel. That's both your bylaw and their bylaw. We have 163,885 square feet of compact gravel on site. We're going to have 119,000 square feet of impervious pavement. We're reducing the impervious surface on this site by almost 30%. Now that's another LID, that's another low impact design that the state required, would like us to have. We don't have to have it, but they prefer that we do. So right here, we show the flood zone, the National Heritage line, the NHESP line. It's kind of hard to see, but it's in here. The green is the wetland line. The purple is the agreed upon work limit line, And between the wetland line and the agreed upon work limit line, there's like 5 feet. Between our agreed work limit line and the siltation fence, there's another 5 feet. So we are staying basically 10 feet away from the wetlands. And then what happens is the state would like you at the bottom of any slope to have 5 feet during construction for any silt to spread out to, they don't want you putting a silt fence right at the bottom of the slope. So we essentially meet that 5 feet criteria, so everything will grade out and it won't be an impact onto the wetlands during construction.
How much work are you doing in the 50?
We're doing work all the way up into the 50. I have it on one of these. I have,
Most of it,
yeah, most of it.
all the way to the flood now. Yeah.
Within the 100, we were doing 56,330 square feet.
Of work in the 50?
Yeah. So that would be about 26,000 square feet of work.
So the orange line up here on the screen is the 50-foot buffer.
That is the 50-foot. And I have the 50-foot on other plans that you can see where the work is being done. So,
Well, like I said, my biggest complaint was back when you guys came in front of us before was new construction in the 50-foot. We're trying to keep the 50-foot no touch from new construction, whether it's commercial or residential. We're trying to keep it to that limit, especially on new construction.
and I would say
That's my-
this is a redevelopment.
The
which is-
redevelopment, there's no building, it's just, I understand what you're saying, just land, but it's being built upon.
Now, I'll put this argument to you again.
Okay.
You've got a 50-foot buffer, and impervious surfaces go right up to the wetlands. Now, we are creating a buffer that is further away from the wetlands than what exists.
That'll be vegetated?
That will be vegetated.
Now, Dijon, is this new bylaw, that we,
I'm sorry?
the new bylaw with the
This was
The
already
stormwater
permitted.
permit
is that a permanent?
bylaws.
Okay.
So that, of course, this was turned in beforehand, so it doesn't apply to what we just approved tonight.
And I mean, I fully understand where Lee's coming from on this 50-foot no touch, but as you said, it was previously disturbed. And I mean, I remember all the trailers and the containers that were there.
Right
And
up, right up.
It has been cleaned up
It-
substantially.
it-
So what will be, again, on the other side of the 50? I mean, you're gonna be in there to do some work, but
Yeah.
what will be left? Will it be pavement or?
Well, it's gonna be a combination of pavement and impervious grass, loam, seeded areas.
Okay.
So, right now, there is no buffer.
We get up in here.
There is no buffer. It's gravel, impervious gravel, according to Article 54 and the EPA. Impervious gravel that goes right up to the wetland line. That's it. Previously disturbed. Yep. And so, yeah, here's the 50-foot, the orange here.
Right,
And there's gonna be some impervious, but this impervious is gonna be treated.
yeah.
We're gonna take all this gravel area that's impervious that goes right, in fact, the whole
That's
site
down
is
the,
gravel.
down the hill, right?
The whole site is gravel that goes right into the wetlands.
Yeah.
We're gonna take this whole site, we're gonna actually create a bigger buffer than there.
But I also said though too,
Yeah.
is there could be, a business could go in there and be smaller and not touch that 50-foot buffer.
But
A
it's,
business could go in there as a manufacturing and have tons of chemicals. I think that this company here is a godsend to this
I'm not
town.
saying anything bad about the company, I'm just saying
It's the
business-wise,
perfect, low-impact business for
There'd
the
be
site.
other restrictions against new chemicals and all that stuff within the building.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, that's why my biggest thing is another business could get in here before it even starts and not even touch that 50-foot and go from there, but that's my opinion, so.
but it's all impervious
I
now,
understand that.
Right.
and they're gonna
But
clean
it's
it up.
better now than it was before anyways.
Anyways, so it's a great company, it's a low-impact company, it's a low-impact design, and we do have an agreement. And the agreement doesn't say we can't put impervious inside the 50. It doesn't give us any, it doesn't throw any wrenches at us. It just says we can work up to the limit of the line that you agreed to. That's what, and it's in the registry of deeds, and I have copies of it here with a book and page. So, we're not asking for any waivers.
The agreement's fine, but we don't have an agreement with that company.
The agreement extends to anybody who buys the property, that's part of the agreement.
I understand that, but we can see, like I said, that smaller business can go in there and right up to that 50-foot. You telling me it couldn't happen?
You've got a
It
small
could, but they
business.
have a
Yeah.
developer now that.
You're
I
talking with-
understand that,
yeah.
I know. I'm just saying, that's like I said, that's my opinion. I don't
But
know
the
how everybody
agreement
else
doesn't say
feels.
anything about a smaller business,
I'm not saying, I said you could
So-
fit one in there that's smaller, in that,
but we don't have to.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I know what I have to say, I don't know what the other commissioners
Well,
have to
I
say.
mean, it is an
I agree with
agreement
them
that's, you know.
either way, so.
What's happening, Dave, up in the corner? See
Up in
where-
this corner,
See where the 50 runs across? That's gonna be all seeded, if I
this is all
recall.
gonna be seeded, there's a big gravel area here, we're gonna
Yeah.
take out the gravel and loam and seed it. This is all grass.
So that's all gonna be open and.
Yeah, it's all gonna be open.
You gonna have a
They're
sign there,
they're gonna
or
Put a
is it-
sign right here next to,
Is it,
Main
is
of the
there,
street.
what's there now? Trees, scrub, or
just
what?
grass,
Just grass.
just grass. The tree line comes right down along the property right here.
I would like to see some trees planted for the ones that are gonna be taken out.
Can't.
Sure, we would definitely be willing to do that. In fact, there might be some nice trees that we can plant around the sign or in the grassed area.
It's a 3-to-1 replacement.
So you can go out there and count the trees. I count
Oh,
2 live ones.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
So 6 trees?
Wait a minute. Don't devalue the trees that don't look so good.
No, I'm talking, if it's not an 8 to 12-inch base, it's scrub. That's what's out there. So I'm counting the 8 to 12-inch diameter trees. If you go out there and you look, there's only like 6 of them. And
So
3 of them are dead.
David, our tree replacement policy covers ground cover, covers shrubs and, you know, the undergrowth
yeah.
and the trees. So if it's approved, you would have a condition of replacing
Sure.
the trees to that 3-to-1 ratio that I mentioned.
Yep.
And then, I can't remember off the top of my head what the ratio is for shrubs and the ground cover, but it's probably 1-to-1 for the ground cover.
Most of it is that invasive bamboo stuff.
Yeah,
It's
so
the ground cover out there.
but that would be a condition of approval if they approve it.
Yeah.
Joe, was there anything else you have?
Yeah, I'd like to, I respect Lee's position. He's very consistent with his wanting to protect the 50-foot buffer. But in the development of this agreement that's been referred to and it's been recorded and signed by the commission, the owner of the property was granted the use up to the historic line, which is the purple line on the plan. And in return for that granting of that use right up to that line, and it didn't differentiate what the use is, that you can only put grass there, as Mr. Clennard said. So, as a benefit to the town, Mr. Snell conveyed the portion of his land south of this site to the town, providing it access to the river for canoes and kayaks. He also has a frontage along Manley Street that has a broad shoulder, which, unlike most of the other conservation areas in town, there's no parking that goes with accessing conservation land. So this will be kept as conservation land for trails, water access for boating and fishing. And in some cases, you can even swim in it because it's downstream of the town well. And have safe and adequate parking so that people can pull over to the side of the road, well off the side of the road, and use this facility. So that's the kind of the give and take that was used for developing this agreement.
I remember that.
And if he had known that he wouldn't be able to develop up to that line, then he probably wouldn't have agreed to conveying all of this conservation land to the south of the site.
Right.
So, I supported it back then. Again, I respect Lee's position. He's always consistent with that. But we did agree to it as we being the commission, sorry, agreed to it. And I think you have to live up to it.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just disagreeing with the size of the business that's being put in there. Just saying, a smaller business could fit in there and protect the 50-foot. And you could still do the work live up to the thing, but of the purple line. So.
Like I say, one thing, what I did is I stayed off that line. He granted me up to the line.
Yep.
And we varied all the way along, trying to stay off the line as much as we could to the advantage of everybody, all right? And that's what we're doing. We're not going right up to the line. And that 50-foot rule should be agreeable with, that we could use it. And that's the agreement we had. The buyers bought it with those intentions. And I don't think that our engineer is overusing the area. He's trying to work with you. So I appreciate your support.
Just came in, I asked, is there any changes from last time? He said, nope.
Well,
there should
he
be.
Oh, there you go.
can't, he can't really. We don't have the
Okay,
room to
I'm just
do
saying, he just
it.
right there, he just said something that,
Okay.
I asked the questions about doing
No one's
different
asked
things,
about
and
it.
he said no. I don't know, like I said, that's just my opinion, so.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I'm considering beyond it is the fact that the Oakers people have been around forever, you know, and have developed a good business, and, you know, being good neighbors is very important in the town,
And I
too.
never put them down.
You know what I mean? No, but I personally take that into consideration when we're looking at all of these things, so. That's all I have.
I just wanted to make the agreement that actually the board and the commission had actually signed and recorded, make that part of the public record, if that's possible. I just wanted to make sure that that was on file. And again, that agreement specifically says that the Snell owner or successor shall be entitled to work within that 50-foot area. And, you know, it's fairly straightforward. I can only read that document when I do the title search, and I can only interpret it in one way. And
Like I said, by pulling as much of the gravel out as you have, you're actually improving
We're improving
the
the
area
site.
within that. So it's
Yeah.
not like you're going right up to that purple line with
Right.
impervious pavement
We stayed
and
off of it.
and developing right up to the 50. You're
And
still,
where it looked hazardous, we stayed off more. And Dave and I worked that out, and I worked it with John too. He was involved in it, and he agreed with us at the time, and we're all satisfied. So we've tried to prevent you, do as best we can within your 50-foot, all right? And I think when you're done, you're gonna end up with a better setup than ever been on that piece of property.
And if
because
this
it was a
goes
gravel
through,
pit.
if this goes through, don't take it as I'm trying to make you guys out to be the bad guy. You know, like, you guys are doing this against the will, whatever. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying anything bad about
Sure, you
company.
can have an opinion, sure.
Ronnie, you, I'm not anything about Collins or anything like that, so.
That's why we have multiple
It
members.
goes through. If it doesn't, then
I would like your support, Lee, because
I
we have
understand,
worked
but
hard
I-
at it, and nobody's pulling any fast ones here, and
But we've
and
worked hard on the 50.
you're a county as
because
we are, all right?
A lot of things have happened to us in the past few years with the 50, and people just not doing whatever. I'm not saying anything bad.
I know.
Shake your hands. But I'm just saying, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna work up to the 50, make it look better. I'm not saying that you're not gonna do a good job. If it goes through, it goes through. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well,
If it does, I'm hoping it's gonna be great, and I'm sure it will be.
You could support us, because we're gonna do the best, very best that we can.
I'm
I think
sure
you've
you
seen
will.
that.
I'm not
You know
saying
my
anything-
record
I'm not
in
putting you
town.
down for any of that. Just my opinion on to save the 50-foot. That's all.
So essentially, you know, we're not asking for any waivers, and we meet all the criteria for the town and the state. And we tried our best to make Oakers work with this property.
You've done your work, and I understand. You
So
went to the other
that's-
stuff.
that's
You
where
did a
we
good
stand.
job.
One
I
thing
agree with you on that.
One thing I would like to say, Lee, is that that 50-foot rule was passed in the 70s, and it was meant to be used discretionary, not in every case. And that was the way it was voted by the town meeting, and we should we
I understand,
should
things have
revert
changed
back
in
to
the
that.
past, I don't know how many years.
And be a little bit more discretionary in a lot of these cases.
We can only be so much.
That's
I
interesting, I
understand,
didn't
I
know
understand.
that.
You can only so
Didn't know
much.
that. I didn't know it was
It's been abused
discretionary.
before, and
Yes,
we're
if
just
you
trying to
read the
say.
law,
I mean, we
that's the
have
way we voted for it in 19...
very infrequently been,
That's
And a lot of times, if it's
But not-
previously disturbed, we
right,
look at
exactly.
the 50
Yeah.
foot
That's
differently
right.
than an undisturbed site that's
Right.
being developed for the
Yeah.
first time.
We're not looking,
Right.
If I
And-
might-
I don't think we should be
Yeah.
treated fairly and give us the opportunity to do what
And
we
like I
can
said,
do as.
it's just me.
I
If
understand,
you
but
agree,
what,
then that's fine.
but what other people have done in the past and done any kind of invasiveness or cheated on the 50 is not,
I'm not saying that.
should be nothing to do with us.
I'm not putting it on you.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that the commission is willing to waive the 50-foot setback, provided the applicant provides mitigation for it. So in most cases, it's just not granted and forgotten about. It's mitigation, it's adding some benefit to either the environment or for the town, or both. And so it's in a lot of cases, a heavy burden. And I would assume that providing this conservation area that will be utilized by many people,
Right.
that's a benefit to both protecting it and then also having people enjoy it. So not many applicants in town can match that benefit that Mr. Snell provided.
It certainly risks undermining that agreement. Right. If we're not allowed to work under the agreement that was given, Mr. Snell donated the land under the condition of the agreement.
So you're saying if this
I'm
doesn't
not
go
saying
through,
that.
what's gonna happen?
I'm not saying that.
So
I'm
what's
just
gonna
saying-
happen?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying he
Looks like I'm
fulfilled.
not trying to say anything bad about you guys, but you guys are
I'm
giving
not.
me.
I'm saying is
now you're
he-
starting to say this stuff.
I'm not saying
because
that
I'm
at
not,
all.
I'm opposed to it.
No, Mr. Commissioner, I'm not. I'm saying is that Mr. Snell, he fulfilled his
I
end of the
understand that.
bargain.
I'm not
That's
saying
all.
he
That's
didn't.
all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
How big is that portion again? Was good.
The land that he donated?
Yeah, it's a good
I
size
think it was
piece.
6.9 acres, a $200 and something thousand assessed piece of land.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean,
You
it's-
donated that,
it's
right?
a good piece of land.
You donated that, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you don't have to pay taxes on it now. so
6.7 acres.
That's right.
Yeah, so you gave us, we gave you a tax break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Well, I'm new on this committee, and I very much have the passion that Lee has about the staying within the 50-foot. However, hearing the backstory and everything that's gone previously, I would recommend that we go forward.
Right. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second?
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll entertain a motion to approve the order conditions and general stormwater permit with the restrictions that we normally put on for the general.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed, 3 ayes. It moves. Passed. Good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, we did a little bit better, but
No,
that's
that's
the way
fine,
it
I
is.
mean, hey, some things will work out, some things don't. I mean, I'm glad you guys are getting that bill.
I appreciate you guys
Thank you.
not
Yeah.
ever,
And I'm sure you're gonna do a good job too, don't hold
You
me.
all clear now? Is everything clear to move ahead?
Thank you, thank you.
yeah.
Board.
We
Thank
just-
you.
we gotta
It's
do
been
a few
all
things,
right.
but we're clear to go.
It's been a long haul.
Good
It
luck.
has.
3 years ago.
Good luck.
It's a, not
It's gonna be a better site in the long
Can I
run.
still
The bottom
get my
line is it's in
typewriter
the best
fixed?
interest of the town, and that's what it's about.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes.
What are you seeing on your screen? Are you seeing the commissioners or?
Yes, I'm seeing the commissioners.
Oh, good, okay.
Why we're all
I
here.
understand. Oh, there's nothing wrong.
Okay, John, next we have
And
217.
the sound is all right?
Yes.
Yep.
Lee, can you ask him if the sound is all right?
Is the sound okay?
Hear us okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. We got a new system and I'm still struggling with it, but it seems to be working somewhat, but we'll get it.
We'll adjust it. I think it's better than the old one. 217 Crescent Street.
All right.
Do we have?
Oh. I can hear Jason saying, double click it, will you? Instead of.
Is anyone on tonight?
Yeah. Oh, no one
it's
else.
just us.
Just
right?
us.
I think it's not letting it.
Hmm.
Jason's.
A lot of area to get checked.
This
I believe-
is,
Oh, this is up on.
Yeah, this is that new development.
Dragoon
in Rad
Doe,
for the, yep.
yeah.
Farmhouse.
All right, so this is the Crescent Street property, 217 Crescent Street, and other addresses, but it comprises this land from Crescent Street northwesterly up to the rear land of the Howards owned property up in the back here. It's got the mill pond, plus it's got where the pond ends, there's a stream that comes into it, and it's somewhat marked in these areas up here. I'm recommending that it be noted on any of the permit that we grant on this, but that it needs further study, but it might not be because 200 foot is still within the BBW up in this section and the 50-foot buffer, so it may not have any effect. So I'm not really recommending any approval of that. We'll just make a note of it that it's on the site along with the floodplain and also the BBW and the isolated areas which we can protect as vernal pool habitat. So if they put any septic systems in, we'll have some input on that part when they start to do their permit plans. But other than that, I've approved all of the lines without any change. There's some I might have gone a little bit downslope from and maybe upslope from, but when you look at all of them as a whole, I have no issue with it. So I'm going to recommend approving an ORAD and that the flagging for the BBW and the isolated areas are accurate.
This is all we're doing now.
Yes, and we'll also require as part of any development that the 50-foot buffer be made into a conservation easement before they even do any development on the site, or as in conjunction with it.
If we didn't do an easement, what could happen, John? Anything?
Well, it's always, they could say, oh, we didn't know that you couldn't touch the 50-foot
It
buffer.
would be in the deed,
It'll be in the deed.
so when they do the.
Yeah. So typically, the developer puts it in the deed, and then the people go in, they move in, and we have them sign affidavits that they understand the restrictions, and then 5 years later, there's a shed there, there's a play set, so we're trying our best to try to protect it, and give everybody a heads up.
Sure.
Is this because of where it is, of just this property, or is that just further on, down the road for the 50 foot, everything?
That's what we've been doing on everything now.
Easement for, oh, okay.
Yeah, so the person could come to the commission and say, I have this conservation easement on my property, and I want to be able to use some of it, but in return, I want to provide the commission and the environment some benefit. and the commission could say, yeah, that seems reasonable. So we would just amend the conservation easement for that section and then write another one, which is really what the amendment is, and allow to do it. But like I said, it's gotta be something hefty that they offer, because just as Carol and Lee are talking, in their hearts, as well as everybody else, you wanna protect 50-foot buffer as much as possible.
Sure. Right.
So it takes quite a bit of mitigation or
Right.
an offer to the town to get you to agree to disturbing the 50-foot buffer, because it is important.
And from now on, is, for the, geez, I can't even think tonight. The water table, everything, what we did from now on, everything going on from now on is gonna be, that's gonna be in effect.
Any new permits?
Yeah.
Any
Any new
developments, right?
So Sandy Hill, for example, if the soils weren't of special concern, maybe they're all gravel, you might not get that
Yeah.
section on the soils
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
but you're gonna get it on the lot shape,
The lot
which
shape,
is
yeah.
what we passed the previous year.
Yeah.
So the lot would be bigger enough so that you're not squeezing everybody into a little cubby hole.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the future, these subdivision lots will be designed to fit the normal use of a residential lot in
Basically,
town.
to the size of the house.
Yeah.
So,
Smaller house and.
Mark is on the line with us. Mark, if you want to add anything more to what I said?
No, I don't, actually. I'm comfortable with the discussion. I understand you reviewed and approved all the flags, so we're good with the ORAD being issued with the conditions you described.
Great.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And I will entertain a motion to issue an ORAD for 217 Crescent Street.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
How big is that property? Good size, huh?
Yeah, and
Pretty quick, that-
it's quite a bit of crossing, so if you're gonna get to this backland, you're probably gonna have to go from this area here to this area. And I think that's more than 5,000 square feet.
Right, I was gonna say, it's considered more of a, not a minor project.
So if
I
DE
mean, it's so contorted, it's
Right,
wonder
and-
you can do anything there.
And the other thing that they're gonna have to do is the replication spot for what they're crossing. You can allow the crossing, that's an allowed
And you
use,
say there's a
but
vernal pool there?
Well, there's
potential.
vernal pool habitat,
Yeah.
and under your regulations, you can protect it as such.
Right.
So, you already have a 50-foot buffer, but if you think that somebody's proposing something too close to it, you could ask for some more protection.
Yeah. How
So
many,
we won't know-
acres is it? Is it big?
Let me see if it's
Just
on there.
roughly.
50, what?
53 acres?
Yeah, we don't know how much that is buildable
Pretty good sized chunk.
55.6
Yeah.
So
acres?
you- And of that, you're probably 50%,
though. Yeah, it's not buildable.
so 30.
Still 25, 30
25,
acres.
30 acres, plus you've got to do a replication for a crossing, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Take that off.
What's our lot size in town?
So minimum 30,000 square feet,
But now it depends.
Which is,
which is 150 by
200.
200 something.
yeah, what's an acre?
43,560, which would be 150 by 200 and
Yeah, yeah. So you can still
75.
put a few.
Yeah, you can still put it.
Yeah.
However, this is most likely an area with soils of concern.
Yes. yeah.
Plus, the lot shape is going to not allow
That's right.
the use of the 50-foot buffer or the easements that they will create. So I
Right.
think you're gonna have bigger lots on this.
Yeah.
And we're gonna require some type of bridging Not necessarily a structural bridge, but not just slap in a 18-inch culvert
Yeah,
and put the road over it
right,
and fill the rest of the wetlands and maybe put a couple more culverts.
right.
I'm gonna be talking about
Bridge.
arched,
Yeah,
bottomless precast arch culverts, which means that it's all structural steel in it to keep the arch. And there is no bottom so that you don't disturb the wetland below it. You only disturb where the arches come back down onto the ground, and they need to span a considerable distance.
right.
And it's pretty much the same that we're gonna ask them to do up there off of Walnut Street, that development they wanna put off, and they have to go through a lot of wetlands to get to it.
Have they said any more about that?
No, they're still working on it.
They're doing a lot of work.
Not happy with it.
Okay.
So,
Old West Street,
0 West Street, they asked for a
continuance. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue to July
July 19th.
19th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moving and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 5 Manley Street.
Same thing.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to the 19th.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moving and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I will say on 5 Manley, they're making great progress. They're moving right along.
That's the
reviews.
warehouse, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're making, the reviews are going very quickly, and it almost could have been heard tonight, but I haven't had a chance to review all of the reviews and make a recommendation to the
For some
commission.
reason, I feel better than that one than this other one. Just
I-
don't know why, because they just seem like they
It-
they made it fit the way it's supposed to fit.
And if we hadn't done the agreement, I would agree with that on the
Yeah,
other one,
right.
so.
No, I understand. I understand.
Yeah,
what you're saying.
that's, I'm in the same
No, I
boat,
hear you.
that if we
Yeah, me
But,
too.
I mean, it
hadn't
just-
had that carrot dangled in front of us.
But, I mean, I had to say something, so, whether you got approved it in, I'm sure they're gonna do a good job.
Fine.
But it sets the tone.
Yeah, that's why I wanna make my point, so.
Now we're into administrative, Sandy Hill Road, request for certificate of compliance.
I was going to recommend issuing, but we have to wait now until, so I would recommend continuing that.
Does any of that property up there have CFCs? On Sandy Hill? Or
The
just
subdivision road doesn't.
To the homes?
I talked with one owner up there and tried to explain that the town never got us a COC on the roadway.
Yeah.
And that I would recommend that all the owners on Sandy Hill, which I think there might be 6 total, get the engineer who did the as-built, which is done, of the road, and file it with the commission for a COC. I'm sure there was money owed on the as-built, and nobody's coming forward. They all just keep saying no.
That's not private, is it?
No.
It's
So
not
what,
private.
so what happens when these title examiners see that there's an outstanding order, and they go ahead and close on the property anyway, and they say to the new buyer, oh, you have an outstanding COC, I just want you to know, or their title exam report indicates that there's an outstanding. And do you have any questions? No, because they're signing like crazy.
Can you even close?
They close,
Yeah.
and then
And then they're accepting responsibility, but they don't know what they accepted, so they don't do anything about
And
it.
it usually happens at the closing.
Right, right.
So you're not gonna say, oh, no, I'm not
But
gonna do
didn't we
that.
try to say something about this before we even closed on it, that they had to bring that in front of any potential buyers?
yeah, so now what
When
we're
they
doing is.
When they do the purchase and sale
That's
right.
up front,
Yeah, they have.
that they have to disclose that.
Yes, that's what.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't do the title search until after that point.
That's right,
So
yeah.
unless a realtor.
That was a good move to do
But
that.
Yeah.
for a subdivision road of, let's say, Pearl Road, the farm, where you have 20,
Yeah.
25 lots, if I'm not mistaken, the COC surety is $20,000. I think you can do an as-built and get everything done for 20,000.
Mhm.
For something like Sandy Hill with 6 lots, I think it was 16,000. That kinda puts the developer in a position where he says, gee, I'd like, he or she gets the money back. And if they don't, we can use the money to go ahead and
You
get it.
set that number though, right? We
Right.
could set it at 50
Right,
grand.
oh, yeah. Yeah, just-
So it's only a recommendation list, but
Yeah.
you're right. If you say, geez, I don't think 16's enough, better make it 20, you can do that.
Especially
I
with
would.
engineers being so
I
busy
would.
nowadays,
That's
you
right.
can't get one.
I wouldn't hesitate.
I think it should be set at a level where it's like engineers,
It hurts.
everybody,
Yeah.
it's gonna hurt them
To not get
to
it.
wanna get it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
No
what the
matter what.
purpose is.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were setting septic system repairs at 100,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and this couple sold their house up on Spring Street and moved out of town, and the new owner is stuck with trying to get the COC.
Yeah.
Luckily, the engineer completed their work, so all we had to do now is get the certificate recorded at the registry. And guess what? Since the time we set the 100, it used to be around $75 to record. It's $105 now.
Oh, sure.
So if we revoke her $100, which I'm still trying to get her to commit of either forfeiting it or going ahead and recording this thing, and they're blowing it off, and so I'm gonna send her a notice via another constable, because it's in Rainham. I gotta get a Rainham constable.
Gosh.
Serve them with that letter and say, if we don't hear from you by our next meeting, we're gonna seize your money. and
Consider it a
spend-
forfeiture.
And they probably could care less.
Yeah, I mean, I gave her the option. I said,
But
you
you
can
have
tell
to
me.
go through the steps.
You could, the letter said, you can tell me to go ahead and use it, or you can do it yourself. Let me know. Dead silence. So now I gotta send them that
Yeah.
served letter, and
Unfortunately, yeah.
I could go and knock on their door at supper time. Hi,
Yeah.
you ignored my
Well, they
letter,
don't-
but
probably
here I
don't
am.
understand. They want us to just take the 100, but you have to have it in acknowledgement.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm giving you this letter, and it's supper time. What do you got to eat?
I was gonna say, yeah, oh, you can sit down and eat with us.
I'll entertain a motion to continue the request for Sandy
I'll
Hill.
make that motion.
Second.
Second, moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
171 Matfield Street, certificate of compliance request.
I'm recommending approval and issuing a COC on that without any bond.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. 568 Manley Street, permit violations, updates.
Yep, so today, this 586 Manley Street, is a site that, the commission approved a stormwater management permit for an office building, parking, and, a contractor's yard up near Manley Street. Then I think I showed you aerial photos of it, what it looks like now.
Mhm.
And what he ended up doing is he got anybody that wanted to park a truck, including the trailer and the truck itself, could lease space from them. And so everybody was taking their trucks up there and parking it. And then also he was giving these gypsy businesses areas to keep their supplies and their vehicles and their materials there. And it's in a water resource protection district, and there was no control over who was up there. All of that's gonna be wiped out with a new plan that this company's coming in. They're doing a first-class job on stormwater management. They're gonna take all that stuff that's there illegally, basically, and take it out of there, and they're buying the property. So I'm keeping this 586 Manley Street on our agendas to keep the current owner and the potential buyer aware that we're not gonna close this thing out until we see the final plans come in from the new developer. Then I think at that point we could close it out.
Was there a fine?
That's the one with the heavy fine of 70.
Still there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And he's willing to.
And it's gonna sit there until the closing happens.
Right. Right, good.
And to his credit, The Pratt's Landing parking lot
Oh,
that we are gonna be doing, that price that we got from Ranco was subject to us providing the grindings for the surface. Without reduction in his fine, he's willing to bring in a couple of trucks of that grindings that he's got piled up in his yard.
nice.
And bring it and dump it
Good.
once we're ready. So he truly showing that, you know,
You messed up.
that he made a mistake and that he's willing to stand up and
Good.
do something about it.
And could we get the town to put any of the,
I'm not sure I would do that if I were
the
faced.
crushed asphalt in there?
I had asked them last
Just a couple dump trucks?
year if they had any, and at the time they didn't.
Nothing at the dump.
There's a big pile at the dump.
Yeah, so.
Well, the other thing is, this is the time of year when they start some of those projects, and I think they've got a couple in town for streets that are getting
Yes,
done.
yeah.
And
So
instead
they
of just
use
hauling
it.
it to the
Dump.
Oh, I
dump,
see. You mean.
haul it to the site.
So-
And it's for
Right, it may be
town
cheaper to,
use, and this is a,
right, instead of stockpiling it there, if we need it.
I will go to the town first if they have it available. When I asked them last year, they didn't have it available.
Yeah.
But if they have it and they're willing to, we'll do that first and not take advantage of this guy's offer, because he is paying the fine too, but.
even if they give
Does
so
that go in
much.
the, how much of that do we get?
You're gonna decide.
Not the general fund?
So some of it will go to the general fund and some of it will go to special conservation projects, depending on what you decide,
Or all of it?
or all of it. Although somebody might squawk because, you know, in the administration, but,
You know that. You know that.
We'll see when we get it.
Yes.
But that way there, when we need to go back for something,
Yes.
Right.
we can say, look, we've helped.
We should
Yeah.
have to go, because we're already
Yeah.
contributing no matter what.
Yeah,
So I'll entertain a motion to continue 586 Manley Street.
make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Invoices?
so that was Carol and then Mo?
Mo and Carol.
Oh,
Mo and Carol.
why change it up, right?
Some benefit to that, I guess.
All right, so we have quite a few.
We do?
We have the Ranco contract.
Yep.
So that's just for you to sign. Then we have the ORAD that we approved just for Crescent Street. We have Esther Drive determination of applicability, which is the Housing Authority project.
No, the one.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah,
I knew we were doing the windows over there, but.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. At least when we get
That's
to
because that was the
Right.
CPC money.
So
Right.
I'm thinking. well,
And then we
so
have-
we gotta find out when we get to the thing.
171 Matfield Street.
Yeah.
I'm skipping the Sandy Hill.
Yep.
We have a invoice for WB Mason for $10.54 for equipment replacement, which is
Invoice.
a USB drive. We have a WB Mason for $9.95, which is for another USB drive. We have WB Mason for $41.02, which is for an easel, which is here this evening. Wait a minute. It's for that one. The one that the consultants use, that easel. $27.89 for a tripod for the webcam, which is this one. And that's to Amazon. And then WB Mason $62.99 for the camera. And that's all coming out of line budget, line item in the budget.
I will entertain a motion to approve invoices as presented.
Make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Anybody have anything else for the agenda?
Not aye.
All right,
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.